If you're wondering where Kamala Harris is spending millions of her campaign's funds, you can look no further than Kamala HQ on Twitter with over 1.3 million followers, and it touts itself as being the rapid response page of Vice President Harris's presidential campaign and implicitly for Gen Z voters. Okay, so let's see what this money provides for you. So this first post has quite the amount of views, over 4 million. The headline goes, Trump operatives say that their Project 2025 plan is to give Trump total unchecked legal power so that they can then jail and execute those who don't support Trump if he wins. First and foremost, at the face level, as somebody who's in the middle, again, I'm very much in the Trump wing of things, but certainly there's voters that could be swayed on the internet. That being said, their job is to strawman, and I mean that in the most plain way possible. First of all, most of these captions will say Project 2025, something that the presidential candidate has already denounced. It's like if you started every Kamala mention with communist Kamala Harris, stuff like this. And you could say, obviously, like, is there some leaning towards that? Sure. But when it comes to actually presiding the presidency, will Kamala Harris enact communism? Nobody under the age of 60 with an IQ over 50 would ever say that she would, because that's just stupid. It's plain wrong. That being said, again with Trump, obviously, is he closer to what Project 2025 espouses than is Kamala Harris? Yes, but will he rule that way? I would hope that, honestly, you can take it at face value, or you can just look at what he's doing materially. He cut off that project. You can say what it is, and it's a straw man at the end of the day, but let's see what they say. Is this allegation true?
Everyone knows, and you will be held accountable for it.
Not just jail, they should get the death penalty. We actually used to have the punishment for treason in this country.
Okay, so a couple things. First and foremost, Laura Loomer, what she said there was so stupid. Of course, this is a multi-hour podcast, I can assume, on Tim Pool, and so there's a context to a lot of things. But to be clear, to say that as a grown woman, or a man for that matter, is so plainly stupid. And the implication being that Democrats are committing treason, or some Democrats, again, that sort of rhetoric is so stupid and allows the left to get fodder against the right. But at the same time, this is the equivalent if the Trump war room were to get some C-list, if at best, like a D-list reply Trump girl on Twitter, but reverse it to Kamala and then say, well, this fringe person is saying that they would do X and Y to Democrats, even though they're not in a position to do any of that, even if Trump were to win, is, you know what I mean? Like, a threat isn't legally credible unless it's a credible threat. You know what I mean? So it's a straw man, to say the least. But again, Laura Loomer is a complete doofus for saying that. Okay, now this is a very, very ugly allegation on JD Vance unearthed video, which implies like it's some sort of Watergate tape, but they probably just dug through some like low level podcast from 3 years ago. But JD Vance attacks women who cannot have kids because they have passed the biological period when it was possible as miserable people who have no real value system and struggle to find meaning. Let's see if that's
true. And I would say that I've fully developed views on this, but to me, what it is sort of a value system to replace the fact that they're all fundamentally atheist or agnostic. They have no real value system. Their only value system is achieve in a very conventional way. And so the idea that somehow they're pursuing racial or gender equity is like the value system that gives their life meaning. Well, of course, they all find that value system leads to misery, leads to unhappiness. And so I think that what happens is, like, whenever you really pursue something, right? Like, let's say a doctor gives you a medicine to cure a disease and it doesn't work, right? The patient gets worse. Well, you can conclude one of two things. Either the medicine isn't working, or the patient was so sick that what they need is even more of the medicine that you originally prescribed. And I think the gender inequity stuff is like, we need more of the medicine. Okay, clearly this value set has made me a miserable person who can't have kids because I already, passed the biological period when it was possible. And I live in a 1,200 square foot apartment in New York and I pay $5,000 a month for it. But I'm really better than these other people. What I'm going to do is project my like racial and gender sensitivities on the rest of them. And like the reason that our society is broken is because these people don't think the exact way that I think. Even though the way that I think has made me a miserable person, I just need to make more people think like that. So we're going to teach this in our schools, in our universities, even in our elementary schools, because once everybody agrees with me, then everything will finally come full circle and we'll have a happy, healthy society.
That was spot on. There was nothing he said wrong. He's saying all these wine moms, and basically Sex and the City was the precursor to what's happening nowadays, where you have a bunch of, for the lack of a better term, spinsters, I think. And you have these women that are, career focused, and then they get to menopause, they get super old, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I wish I had kids, but it's too late to have them in a conventional sense. And so obviously anything past that might be a cope to say like, okay, actually I'm way better than you because I have these material objects. But I think most people have enough humility to say that actually maybe the Buick is not worth forgoing having a child, or, you know, obviously a skyrise apartment, or in his case, a 1,200 square foot, $5,000 a month New York apartment is not worth the forgoing of a family. So yeah, what he said was completely accurate. And the way they characterized it was unfortunate. And most people do not have the attention spans to actually listen to what he said in full. And, you know, to be honest, I don't either. Now I'm 21, so I fit their demographic, but I had to put it on 1.5 speed. Okay, Trump operative echoing their Project 2025 plan of giving Trump total control of people's lives, saying abolish term limits and make Trump president for life. So, two things. First and foremost, it's a 17-second clip. So again, context aware. Secondly, notice the way they try to load the language, okay? Very Marxist, which again makes me sound like Mark Levin, but you know, these boomers were onto something back then. All right, Trump operative. The guy is a conservative that happens to kind of look like me vaguely if I'm clean shaven and I met him. And he was like, damn, we do look alike. Anyway, the point being is that Michael Knowles is a very reasonable, affable person, right? In real life, but also like on the podcast. What's more is that to say he's a Trump operative is like saying that some random Democrat or liberal person that talks and is a pundit is a operative for given nominee of the Democrat Party. You know, obviously just because you agree with someone does not mean you're being paid on their behalf. So it's just a stupid thing, and it's, I wouldn't say it's slander, but it's totally facetious. But beyond this, the cute thing about them tagging everything with Project 2025 is that not only are they diluting the allegation of it being Project 2025, much like the Hillary people overran the racist or xenophobic, they did it so much that at some point people are like, okay, I'll take the allegation, but also it's probably not even true. Like, for example, if in 1982 somebody accused a white guy of being racist, you'd think, oh God, he must have actually done something. Whereas if you're accused as a white person of being racist nowadays, it's like, okay, I mean, you probably said an off-color joke, but like, are we really gonna? So that's a normal person's reaction, right? So when you say Project 2025 all this time, okay, and also keep in mind, I'll move on with this. Saying Project 2025, how many syllables is that, dude? Like, are you trying to like say a Mexican guy's full surname with like 4 last names? Project 2025. It's too hard to even say, bro.
Trump is just incredible. Abolish term limits, make him president for life. I'm joking, sort of, even though actually Ronald Reagan, his last political crusade was to abolish term limits. Also just saying that, but hey, I digress. Regardless,
that was just a joke, bro. It's one of those like not locker room talk, but it's like, yeah, man, yeah, I fuck with Trump. Imagine if you were in there for like 20 years and then Barron became president. It's kind of a joke. You know, the guy is like 80 years old, dude. It's just he's playing up something that is kind of true. Like, yeah, would Trump be cool to last forever? But it's tongue in cheek. Like, obviously that's retarded. Okay, now this one's a straight up lie, like brazen lie. Okay, the pants are so on fire they're in smithereens down on the ankles of the person that is speaking fibs, because look at this. They're alleging that the Democrats want to help children with, or I guess families in this case, with the child tax credit, whereas Trump is accordingly wanting to give tax breaks to the ultra wealthy that would cost Americans way more than any of the policies Democrats are proposing. A couple things wrong with that. First and foremost, Donald Trump and JD Vance, namely, was the one that came up with the $5,000 child tax credit increase a while ago, and then Kamala Harris, seeing that, copied it, much like 4 other different things she did thus far. We call her Kamaga Harris. That's giving her too much credit, though, so maybe Comrade is better. I'm joking. Now, they stole that from the Republicans already, and they made it $6,000, which is such an inappropriate thing to do, because what that basically incentivizes is that, let's say the Republicans come out with the $5,000 tax credit, and then the Democrats like, okay, let's do it $6,000. Now Trump could say $7,000, and then we all end up with a ton of debt, dude, just because you want to win an election. It's perverted. But the other thing I wanted to mention was that, you know, this tax cut is a couple $1 trillion at most, whereas the policies that the Democrats are espousing are trillions of dollars. What the hell is the Green New Deal? You could say, oh, she's not going to do it. Okay, but even parts of it are super expensive. We're talking about somebody who's put in hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars from, I think, the CHIPS Act or the American Rescue Act towards building chargeable electric vehicle stations all across America. And how many of them have been built? Okay, this government can't do shit. I mean, think about Solyndra. Think about all these bad programs from Obama where they, at least on premise, made more sense than what they're proposing now. And now they're trying to gaslight like a tax cut would be the end of the world, as if cutting our taxes by like 2 or 3% is going to bankrupt America, but increasing all these other things is not. Here's another facetious post. And it's a Kamala double team with Kamala HQ. By the way, the person that runs the account, I don't know if they were exposed like involuntarily, so I won't show it right now. But basically, I saw a picture. It's literally, and I'm not even sure. It was like a 120-pound, 5'0" Asian, ambiguous status, whether it be romantically, like you don't know what they like, you don't know what they were born as. So it's like androgyny central. So you can kind of see the lack of logic that goes with this sort of framing here. Because look at this. Trump in this interview, by the way, says something along the lines that he will not vote for the progressive abortion proposition or whatever, or amendment that would make it that you could have late-term abortion, I think. Then they write it as if to say, Trump says he will uphold the 6-week abortion ban. Ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous. I mean, that is to say, like, okay, imagine if there was a vote in the Congress several years ago, pull out of Afghanistan, which is unpopular. The word is, and then the congressman is like, okay, I'm voting against pulling out of Afghanistan right now because if we do, this craziness will happen. And then the Democrats are like, well, oh wait, so you support the Afghanistan war? It's like, no, it's just like there's an appropriate time to do everything, and just because you say no to something doesn't mean you affirm what already exists. It just means that maybe what exists is a little preferable than the other thing, right? Anyhow, Kamala says first he got Roe overturned, then he'll get abortion ban in 20 states. Now he's voting for an abortion ban in a state that he lives in. If elected, he will sign a national abortion ban as soon as it crosses his desk. Couple incongruencies with the logic. First and foremost, Trump would never sign that. It's political neck rope craftsmanship, to be clear. It'd be an awful move. Now, again, I'm more like pro-life than politically, like, obviously there's a Machiavellian aspect to it that obviously the voter does not want an abortion ban in the way that a lot of conservatives would like it. So it's best to work with those people, as it's clear that the conservative minority is not going to cut it. And so I'm a practical person. Trump is a pragmatic person, believe it or not. So he would not sign a national abortion ban, especially before the midterms in 26. And the other aspect, folks, is that a nationwide abortion ban would not even be proposed by a Mike Johnson house, a Kevin McCarthy led house. Like what are we talking about, bro? Ted Cruz is not speaker of the house. This would not even happen. All right, 12 minutes into the video. Like the video if you've gotten this far. This is kind of a little bit of a different thing from the normal election predictions. We're trying to spice it up a little bit, even though we're about 2 months away from the election. How scary of an idea is that, bro? But anyway, guys, let's try to wrap it up with a Trump clip. So right here, it says the allegation is Trump fantasizes about his Project 2025 plan, and it is to take control of Americans' lives, and that you can do everything. The president has so much power. Okay, let's see if that's true.
Able to do as president. And so let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you might be able to do as president.
Well, you can do everything. President has such power. It does. It has such power.
And so,
bro, you see how twisted this is, bro. The straw manning. Okay, fantasizes about his Project 25 plan. It's not. He's just saying generally, like, oh yeah, the president has much power. You have a woman that's asking, what will you do X, Y, and Z? And he's saying, yeah, there's a lot of power. And so then he's about to get into like detail, right? They cut that part out. They're just saying like, oh my God, fantasy. Imagine, it's like if you said, yeah, man, women are so beautiful. And then some girl's like, oh yeah, you're fantasizing about getting with Bethany. And it's like, dude, stop projecting what you want me to think. It's like, I'm just saying a general idea, like president has a lot of power, and then they want to read into it and twist it to the median Gen Z voter saying, oh, it's Project 25, guys, it's a boogeyman. And, Gen Z, we are young, but we're also a little old to be scared of a fucking boogeyman, bro. Like, are we going to like not open the closet too? We're not Gen Alpha. We're not like 10 years old. We are in our 20s, late teens. And to be honest, this is not going to work. And to cap it all off, this is obviously a horrible, horrible look for the Democrats. Look at this. So obviously the headline here is Trump says he's going to vote for and to uphold Florida's 6-week abortion ban. Again, a facetious use of the act of what he, the vote, obviously. But also the caption is, who's surprised? Again, condescending, stupid brat. Anyway, the picture they use of Trump, which is completely out of the context that they're referring to, just to make him look bad, as if he's like taking a shit, which again, when you're out there in the border and it's like 110 degrees out and you're wearing a full suit and you're in your late 70s, you will have some weird freeze frames. But these, I need to guard my language, but like, dude, these freaks are going to what? Like, oh my God, we're going to take a still image of this guy where he's like looking inopportune. Imagine if like you made a critique of my video and I went like, and I'm like twitching in a weird way because I'm like moving my face and they're like, oh my God, this guy's like zonked out. That's what they're doing to Donald. It's such a bad look, bro. I mean, when the Republicans do it, it's basically like, oh, look at Kamala cackling mid cackle. Well, that's kind of her fault because her laugh is awful. And who loves a girl with a nice laugh? Everyone. Now, ugly one, that's a little negotiable if you're a loser. Okay, so realistically speaking, to wrap it up here, Kamala Harris HQ is garbaggio. It is actually appallingly cringe. It's ran by people that are my age, and yet they talk as if they're 50-year-olds trying to be 20, like a Nickelodeon producer, a la Dan Schneider. But maybe I'm digging a little too much into it. And so anyway, comment down below if you want more videos of this vein. If I had it my way, I would make it 40 minutes long, but I'm a busy man, but I'm also someone who wants to provide content. So comment down below if you want more stuff in this vein, and comment down below if you want me to respond to this video with another one on Kamala Harris HQ lies exposed, which is actually a Republican parody account of this one, kind of. So anyways, subscribe if you haven't yet, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Adios.